One Year Bible, the Living Bible, paraphrase, May 31st. 2 Samuel chapter 17, verses 1 through 29. Now Ahithophel said, "Give me 12,000 men to start out after David tonight. I will come upon him while he is weary and discouraged, and he and his troops will be thrown into a panic, and everyone will run away. And I will kill only the king and let all those who are with him live, and restore them to you." Absalom and all the elders of Israel approved of the plan. But Absalom said, "Ask Hushai the Archite what he thinks about this." When Hushai arrived, Absalom told him what Ahithophel had said. "What is your opinion?" Absalom asked him. "Should we follow Ahithophel's advice? If not, speak up." "Well," Hushai replied, "this time I think Ahithophel has made a mistake. You know your father and his men. They are mighty warriors and are probably as upset as a mother bear who has been robbed of her cubs. And your father is an old soldier and isn't going to be spending the night among the troops. He has probably already hidden in some pit or cave. And when he comes out and attacks and a few of your men fall, there will be panic among your troops, and everyone will start shouting that your men are being slaughtered. Then even the bravest of them, though they have hearts like lions, will be paralyzed with fear. For all Israel knows what a mighty man your father is, and how courageous his soldiers are. What I suggest is that you mobilize the entire army of Israel, bringing them from as far away as Dan and Beersheba, so that you will have a huge force. And I think that you should personally lead the troops. Then, when we find him, we can destroy his entire army, so that not one of them is left alive. And if David has escaped into some city, you will have the entire army of Israel there at your command. And we can take ropes and drag the walls of the city into the nearest valley, until every stone is torn down." Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, "Hushai's advice is better than Ahithophel's, for the Lord had arranged to defeat the counsel of Ahithophel, which really was the better plan, so that he could bring disaster upon Absalom." Then Hushai reported to Zadok and Abiathar the priest what Ahithophel had said and what he himself had suggested instead. "Quick," he told them, "find David and urge him not to stay at the ford of the Jordan River tonight. He must go across at once into the wilderness beyond. Otherwise he will die and his entire army with him." Jonathan and Ahimaaz had been staying at En-Rogel so as to not be seen entering and leaving the city. Arrangements had been made for a servant girl to carry to them the messengers that they were to take to King David. But a boy saw them leaving En-Rogel to go to David, and he told Absalom about it. Meanwhile they escaped to Bahurim, where a man hid them inside a well in his backyard. The man's wife put a cloth over the top of the well with grain on it to dry in the sun, so no one suspected they were there. When Absalom's men arrived and asked her if she had seen Ahimaaz and Jonathan, she said they had crossed the brook and were gone. They looked for them without success and returned to Jerusalem. Then the two men crawled out of the well and hurried on to King David. "Quick," they told him, "cross the Jordan tonight." They told him how Ahithophel had advised that he be captured and killed. So David and all the people with him went across during the night and were all on the other bank before dawn. Meanwhile, Ahithophel, publicly disgraced when Absalom refused his advice, saddled his donkey, went to his hometown, set his affairs in order, and hanged himself. So he died and was buried beside his father. David soon arrived at Mahanaim Meanwhile, Absalom had mobilized the entire army of Israel and was leading the men across the Jordan River. Absalom had appointed Amasa as general of the army, replacing Joab. Amasa was Joab's second cousin. His father was Ithra an Ishmaelite, and his mother was Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, who was the sister of Joab's mother Zeruiah. Absalom and the Israeli army now camped in the land of Gilead. When David arrived at Mahanaim, he was warmly greeted by Shobai, son of Nahash of Rabbah, an Ammonite, and Machir, son of Amiel of Lodebar, and Barzillai, a Gileadite of Rogelim. They brought him and those who were with him mats to sleep on, cooking pots, serving bowls, wheat and barley flour, parched grain, beans, lentils, honey, butter, and cheese. For they said, "You must be very tired and hungry and thirsty after your long march through the wilderness." The Gospel of John, chapter 19, verses 23 to 42. When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they put his garments into 4 piles, one for each of them. But they said, "Let's not tear up his robe, for it was seamless. Let's throw dice to see who gets it." This fulfilled the scripture that says, "They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for my robe." So that is what they did. Standing near the cross were Jesus' mother, Mary, his aunt, and the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. Mary, his aunt, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside me, his close friend, he said to her, "He is your son," and to me he said, "She is your mother." And from then on I took her into my home. Jesus knew that everything was now finished, and to fulfill the scriptures said, "I'm thirsty." A jar of sour wine was sitting there, so a sponge was soaked in it and put on a hyssop branch and held up to his lips. When Jesus had tasted it, he said, "It is finished," and bowed his head and dismissed his spirit. The Jewish leaders didn't want the victims hanging there the next day, which was the Sabbath, and a very special Sabbath at that, for it was the Passover. So they asked Pilate to order the legs of the men broken to hasten death. Then their bodies could be taken down. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the 2 men crucified with Jesus. But when they came to him, they saw that he was dead already, so they didn't break his. However, one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and blood and water flowed out. I saw all of this myself and have given an accurate report, so that you also can believe. The soldiers did this in fulfillment of the scripture that says, "Not one of his bones shall be broken," and they shall look on him whom they pierced. Afterwards, Joseph of Arimathea, who had been a secret disciple of Jesus for fear of the Jewish leaders, boldly asked Pilate for permission to take Jesus' body down, and Pilate told him to go ahead. So he came and took it away. Nicodemus, the man who had come to Jesus at night, came too, bringing 100 pounds of embalming ointment made from myrrh and aloes. Together they wrapped Jesus' body in a long linen cloth saturated with spices, as is the Jewish custom of burial. The place of crucifixion was near a grove of trees, where there was a new tomb never used before. And so, because of the need for haste before the Sabbath, and because the tomb was close at hand, they laid him there. Psalm 119, verses 129, verse 152. Your laws are wonderful, no wonder I obey them. As your plan unfolds, even the simple can understand it. No wonder I wait expectantly for each of your commands. Come and have mercy on me, as is your way with those who love you. Guide me with your laws, so that I will not be overcome by evil. Rescue me from the oppression of evil men, then I can obey you. Look down in love upon me, and teach me all your laws. I weep because your laws are disobeyed. O Lord, you are just, and your punishments are fair. Your demands are just and right. I am indignant and angry because of the way my enemies have disregarded your laws. I have thoroughly tested your promises, and that is why I love them so much. I am worthless and despised, but I do not despise your laws. Your justice is eternal, and your laws are perfectly fair. In my distress and anguish, your commandments comfort me. Your laws are always fair. Help me to understand them, and I shall live. I am praying with great earnestness. Answer me, O Lord, and I will obey your laws. Save me, I cry, for I am obeying. Early in the morning, before the sun is up, I am praying and pointing out how much I trust in you. I stay awake through the night to think about your promises. Because you are so loving and kind, listen to me and make me well again. Here comes these lawless men to attack me, but you are near. O Lord, all of your commandments are based on truth. I have known from earliest days that your will never changes. I have known from earliest days that your will never changes. Proverbs chapter 16, verses 12 and 13. It is an horrible thing for a king to do evil. His right to rule depends upon his fairness. The king rejoices when his people are truthful and fair.